Welcome back, everyone. At the break, we were looking at depression and anxiety and how that leads to, or sometimes can lead to, suicide, homicide, and what that looks like. We were also looking at the thought processes that goes through particular teens, because usually that's the group that often ends up committing suicides or homicides. But I mean, adults can, young kids can as well. We know that happens in schools, happens, in place of work, in the home. It can happen anywhere. For those of us, for the viewers out there watching and wondering who may be concerned or just curious, maybe if we can talk a little bit about what are some of the things to look for. If a parent, for example, is concerned about a child, a teenage child, what are some of the things that we need to be conscious of to help us, not to say that definitely this is what's happening, but to say that this is something that we need to take seriously, we need to pay a little bit more attention to, just in case?
Anytime that you see, and it could be a change in behavior. I always say, particularly if the child has been social before, or the young person has been social and done activities, and you see...
Hold that thought. We have a caller, Barbara.
Yes.
Thank you for calling in. And what would you like to contribute to the conversation?
I have question adult. My husband, he had bypass, and I think he's going to depression now, and he become a little bit bully.
Oh, really? In what way? What is he doing that makes you
like kind of aggression. I think he feel like kind of down, like he has that one. And can I recognize the depression between anxiety or bullying?
Okay, you said he's a little bit aggressive. Is this a new behavior for him? Is the aggression something new that's happening?
This now I find out.
Since the operation, you're seeing this. Okay. Is he in pain?
Yes, he's taking so many medication, and I don't know if this is connected with medication or...
it could. We can't say because we're not his doctors, but you're saying he's in pain. And when someone is in pain, it can make them become aggressive or irritable, certainly unhappy. So that could be part of the what you're saying. But are you concerned about him being depressed?
Yes.
Are you concerned about him hurting you, or both?
No, more depression.
So it's more the depression that you're concerned about. Okay. Paul, what thoughts do you have?
I was just going to say that, in a situation like this where, you've got increased stress from the operation, he's not feeling well, he probably used to work, he can't work right now. Again, maybe depression, but to a certain extent, depression would be understandable in this situation, and would often, again, the frustration. These are not unusual. I want to tell you that for somebody that's had a serious operation and is going through this is not unusual behavior that you have to expect. Some changes. They can be a lot of, wonder about his future, concern about whether he's going to be able to return to his life, that he's going to be able to be a provider for his family. All of these things are liable to be very frustrating for him, and is going to come across being very irritable, I could imagine, and angry. But he's not necessarily angry.
For me.
Do you have any family support?
Yes, but for me, I have to a little bit understand how can I approach him, something new for me, then I feel sorry for him, but it's difficult for me.
Well, of course,
ahead.
you know, this is sort of, I'm back on medications again,
Yeah.
but if you were to, you know, if you feel that his depression and his behavior is, as you say, really upsetting his quality of life and your quality of life, you know, he's seeing his doctor regularly, he's seeing his family, you go into the family doctor and you say, look, it's not only the heart I'm worried about, there's this
Right.
behavior that seems depressed to me, he's doing this and this and this. What do you suggest? And he may very well say, I think he should be on some sort of medication to improve his mood just a little bit, at
Yes,
least for now.
I'm concerned about the mood.
Yeah.
Have you spoken to, has he, first of all, just want to back up a bit, Barb. Does your husband recognize the change in himself?
I don't think so.
Because I wanted to know, would he be willing to go back and speak with the doctor, both of you, about what you're seeing and what you're concerned about?
I think I have to start, doing something until it's too late. That's why,
Yes, I feel that if both of you can go and speak to the doctor, because as Dr. Clark said, maybe there needs to be change or adjustments made to his medication, or maybe there's something else going on, or maybe it's just a matter of time and things will change. But I'm concerned about the way you sound. You sound very stressed, very anxious, very, very worried. And
yes, yeah.
if you can explain to your husband or a family member, maybe you have older kids who can help you in this process, and go back to the doctor and let the doctor know the things that you're telling us tonight. Explain those things to the doctor. If your husband isn't willing to go, then I would suggest that you go and speak to the doctor about your concerns, and then maybe he can speak to your husband. Because until that piece is addressed, it's pretty difficult for you to know the best way to help him. Does that make sense?
Makes sense, yeah. Because I just recognize a little bit different with him. Then
Yes.
I don't want to wait too long.
That's right.
Because after it might be too late, to do something, then...
Yeah.
And I would just, always say that, whenever there's anybody else who's experiencing stress in your house, you're the person you have best control over. So you
Exactly.
have to take good care of yourself. You have to be, you have to stay healthy and strong. And if this is starting to take over your life, this is not just an issue, his issue anymore. So if you have family support, you have to be as honest as possible with them and go, look, I can't take much more of this, and I need some, we have to sometimes swallow our pride and go, I'm going to need some help in the house, or I'm not staying here anymore if he can't, if you're struggling.
My question is if he's normal, because he's taking 8 new medication now.
Well, it's hard for us to say what's normal or not normal. If the doctor, are these prescribed medication by the doctor?
Yes.
Well, then there has to be some good reason why the doctor did that. However, medication affects people differently. And that's why we're suggesting that speak to your husband or speak to family members to help you to talk to your husband about going and speaking to the doctor again, because maybe there needs to be some changes made. Sometimes medications, it's happened to me where, I've gone and I've been given a particular medication, but for me, personally, that was not the best option, and I had to go talk to the doctor and have that changed or adjusted. That may be what's needed, but even regardless, your doctor is the best person to be addressing this with, and you need to do that as soon as possible, because you don't want to get to the point where you're also becoming depressed and stressed out. And your husband, he's going through all these changes, the operation, the medication. It's understandable that he's not aware of what's happening with him.
Yes, I understand that, but...
So you need to get him to go, and if he's not willing at this point, then you need to go and see your doctor and talk to him and tell him everything you're telling us and getting his best advice.
Yeah,
Does that make sense, Barb?
Yes, yes, because
Okay.
now he's sleeping almost 20 hours per day. Then
Yeah.
I find out it's
Yeah.
something,
Yeah,
too,
he does
too
need
much.
to go back to the doctor.
Yeah.
You need to get him
Yeah.
there as soon as possible. Or
Thank-
you need to go and talk to the doctor as soon as possible.
Yes. Thank you so much
You're
for
welcome.
that. Thank you so
Thanks
much.
for calling. Take care. That was an interesting call and slight detour from, but nonetheless relevant, because this is somebody that's identifying concerns for herself. She didn't sound as if she felt threatened, but she's concerned about the changes in its
And
behavior.
again, you never know. People are
Exactly.
often hesitant to talk about, the details of what's
Exactly.
going on at home. So I think it could be. I mean, that may be, a way of saying that while we may not be to bullying yet,
Right.
she may be concerned.
Exactly. Exactly. But good that she called and she's recognizing that and, wanting to do something about that. And as she's saying, she noticed the difference in him being a little bit more aggressive. And just before the call, that's what we were talking about, signs and symptoms in terms of what people can look for if somebody is on their way to, committing suicide or
Right.
homicide.
So anytime a parent tells me, again, red flags, so missing school, not being able to get out of bed, that I wake them up in the morning, but they're missing their classes, they're not going to school, they're not doing any of their activities. Anytime a parent has a child that's not going to school, that's staying in the house all day, that has irregular sleeping patterns, and I understand to a certain extent sometimes we're talking about teenagers.
But irregular for them.
But still, our radar should be up, because if we're going to get into, I often tell people, if we're going to get into problems in our lives, whether it's suicide or drugs or something, chances are it's coming during high school or those early university years, because we have access to all of those dangerous things, to drugs, to girls, to gangs, to all of those. So parents should be very, when in doubt, hey, check into it. And I guess that's something I wanted to, and maybe you wanted to talk about later, but, parents, yeah, okay.
We definitely will be looking at that and looking at in a little bit more detail in some of the other aspects in terms of what we can look for. But coming up, we're going to be taking a quick break and we will be right back. Continue. Very good in terms.